The rain hammered down like God's own judgment, turning the emergency room floor into a slick battlefield of regret. You think money fixes this, Xavier? You think your daddy's checkbook can buy back the pieces of me you shattered? Dominic's voice cracked like thunder, his bloodied knuckles white against the gurney as the paramedics pried him away. In that frozen heartbeat, I saw it all unravel. The life we'd clawed from the gutters of Brooklyn, drowned in the Hudson's indifferent current. I lunged forward, my loafers slipping on the tiles, but the cops were faster, their hands like iron on my arms. Sir, step back. He's not pressing charges, but you need to go. Dominic's eyes met mine one last time, not with hate, but with that hollow ache we'd both known too well. The kind that whispers you're better off alone. It started 6 months earlier, in the sticky haze of a July heatwave that made New York feel like a pressure cooker ready to blow. I was Xavier Harrington, heir to Harrington Imports, the kind of name that opened doors from Wall Street to the Hamptons. 28, fresh off Yale, with a trust fund that could choke a horse and a family legacy that demanded I play the part. Crisp suits, calculated smiles, and a future scripted in boardroom battles. But that afternoon, I wasn't the golden boy. I was just a guy nursing a scotch in a dive bar off Atlantic Avenue, hiding from another gala where Dad would parade me like a prize bull. The door swung open, letting in a blast of humid air and him, Dominic Reyes. He was all edges and fire. Olive skin etched with the faint scars of a life that didn't pull punches. Dark hair cropped short and tousled like he'd just rolled out of a fight. 25, maybe, with calloused hands that spoke of construction sites and late-night shifts at the bodega. He slid onto the stool next to mine, ordered a beer with a nod that said he belonged nowhere and everywhere, and that's when our worlds collided. Not with sparks, but with a shared silence that felt like coming home. You look like you're running from something, he said, his voice low and gravelly, laced with that Queen's accent that turned every word into a dare. I laughed, bitter and too loud, because yeah, I was running from the invisible noose of expectations, from the whispers about the Harrington son and his distractions. Dad had caught wind of my phase back in college, shipped me off to therapists who prescribed denial and debutantes. But Dominic? He didn't flinch when I let slip, over that third drink, that I'd rather kiss a stranger in the shadows than marry into the family firm. By closing time, we were stumbling out into the neon glow, his arm slung casual over my shoulder like it was the most natural thing. We ended up on the fire escape of his walk-up in Bed-Stuy, the city sprawling below us like a map of broken dreams. He kissed me there, tentative at first, then fierce like he was claiming territory no one else had dared. It wasn't fireworks. It was a slow burn, the kind that seeps into your bones and rewires your pulse. Your trouble, Xavier, he murmured against my neck, his breath warm in the muggy night. Rich boy like you? You'll bolt when it gets real. I pulled him closer, tasting salt and possibility, and whispered, try me. Those early weeks were a fever dream of stolen moments. I'd sneak away from penthouse brunches to meet him at the pier, where we'd watch the ferries cut through the East River, his head on my shoulder as he talked about growing up in foster homes, bouncing between relatives who saw him as extra baggage. Poverty's a thief, man, he'd say, tracing patterns in the gravel with his boot. Steals your options before you even know they're gone. I'd share bits of my own cage, the pressure to be the son who closed deals, not the one who loved men. We were opposites. Me with my silver spoon, him with fists scarred from defending what little he had. But in each other we found the missing half. Love, real and ragged, bloomed in the cracks. Late-night drives in my Audi to Coney Island, where we'd share cotton candy and promises under the cyclone's scream. Quiet mornings in his cramped apartment, sunlight filtering through blinds as he sketched me on napkins, capturing the vulnerability I hid from the world. Dominic was an artist at heart, hustling odd jobs to fund community murals in the barrios, painting stories of resilience on brick walls that the city tried to whitewash. Art's my rebellion, he'd grin, paint smudged on his cheek like war paint. I envied that fire, the way he turned pain into color. For me, rebellion meant small acts. Deleting emails from Dad's assistant about suitable introductions. Wiring money to Dominic's account for supplies without him knowing. He found out once, called me out on the rooftop with that fierce gaze. I don't need your charity, Zev. I need you to see me, not the poor kid you're saving. We fought then, words sharp as broken glass, but made up under the stars, bodies tangled in forgiveness. It was messy, profound, the kind of love that demands you confront your shadows. But shadows have teeth. Enter the conflict, slinking in like fog off the harbor. My family caught wind first, through a careless photo on Dominic's Insta. Us laughing at a street fair, my hand on his waist. Dad summoned me to the Upper East Side brownstone, the air thick with old money and older prejudices. This dalliance ends now, Xavier, he said, his voice like polished steel over brandy. Reyes, a muralist from the projects. He'll drag you down. Scandals, lawsuits, the board will crucify us. Mom hovered, tears in her eyes, pleading for the family image. I stormed out, slamming the door on generations of silence. But the seed was planted. Doubt. The what-ifs that whisper at 3 a.m. Then came the betrayal, swift and surgical. It was October, leaves turning the parks to fire, when Dad played his hand. He offered Dominic a deal. $50,000 to vanish, framed as a grant for his art. No strings. But Dominic, proud as hell, saw it for what it was. A bribe to buy my freedom. He confronted me that night in my loft overlooking the skyline. The city lights mocking our fragility. Your old man scared, huh? Thinks I'm the hood rat ruining his empire. His laugh was hollow, eyes stormy. I swore I'd fight them, that we'd run if we had to, maybe to LA start fresh. But he pulled away, that wall slamming up. You say that now, but when the checks stop coming, when you're back in those suits shaking hands with suits, you'll wake up and see I'm just the detour. I didn't see the fracture coming. The high point of our unraveling hit 2 weeks later, at the Harrington Holiday Gala. A glittering cage of chandeliers and champagne flutes in the plaza's ballroom. Dad had cornered me earlier. End it tonight, or the firm's pulling your inheritance. No safety net, son. Think of your future. My stomach twisted, but I nodded, numb, the lie tasting like ash. Dominic showed up uninvited, borrowing a jacket from a thrift shop that hung loose on his frame, his presence like a spark in dry tinder. We danced once, slow and defiant amid the waltzing elite. His hand firm in mine. Whispers rippled. Who's the plus one? Looks like trouble. Then Dad approached, all false charm, clapping Dominic on the back too hard. Enjoying the view, Mr. Reyes? My boy here's got big plans, ones that don't include distractions. Dominic's face went stone, and he bolted, vanishing into the night. I chased him into the alley behind the hotel, the gala's laughter echoing like a taunt. It was nothing. He's testing me. But Dominic whirled, eyes blazing. Testing? Or choosing? You let him talk to me like that, Zev. Like I'm disposable. The words hung, heavy as the November chill creeping in. I reached for him, but he shoved me back. Hard. Go back to your castle. I was never meant for it. He walked away, shoulders hunched against the wind, and I let him, the betrayal mine this time, choosing silence over the scream in my soul. The fallout was a blizzard of my own making. Dominic ghosted. Phone off, murals abandoned, his apartment echoing empty when I pounded on the door. I drowned in work, Dad's approval a bitter pill, but nights brought the ghosts. His laugh in the wind, his touch in the sheets. Desperation peaked that rainy December eve on the Brooklyn Bridge, the one that haunts me still. I tracked him to a shelter gig, painting portraits for the homeless, his hands steady despite the tremor in his voice when he saw me. We argued under the downpour, him accusing me of cowardice, me begging for a second chance. I chose wrong once, I choked out, rain mixing with tears. But not again. Sell the Audi, burn the suits. I'll live in your walk-up, eat ramen, paint with you. Just don't make me face this city without you. He froze, the bridge's cables humming like a dirge. Then, slow as dawn, he closed the gap, his forehead against mine, water streaming between us. You're an idiot, Harrington, a rich idiot who thinks love's a fairy tale. But his lips found mine, soft and yielding, the kiss a vow sealed in storm. No grand gestures, just us, raw, real, reclaiming what the world tried to steal. We didn't ride off into sunsets. Life's not scripted like that. Dad cut me off. The penthouse sold. My days now split between freelance consulting and wielding a brush beside Dominic in East Village Studios. Poverty bit hard. Eviction notices, skipped meals. But it forged us stronger. Our love a quiet revolution against the odds. We married in a city hall ceremony last spring. Witnesses a ragtag crew of artists and activists. Ring simple bands etched with murals of our own design. No empires fell, but walls did. Mine, his, the one society builds to keep us apart. Looking back, from that bloody DR floor where Dominic's bar fight with a bigot landed him, and me, arriving too late to stop it, I see the journey clear. 2 men, 1 love, defying the chasm of wealth and want. It wasn't expected, no tidy bows or Hollywood fades. But in the quiet after the storm, holding him as the city breathed around us, I knew we'd won something rarer than riches. A life unchained, painted in colors only we could see.